Matt,
Mort.
we've played God of War Ragnarok, and we have a lot to say about it.
Boy.
Going into this, for me, God of War, I never liked the series. I didn't like it on PS2, and then I skipped it on PS3 for a lot of reasons. And then I'm seeing all these previews come through on God of War on PS4, and it's really grabbing my interest. I played the game without hyperbole. I think it's in my top 2 or 3 games of all time. I think it's that good of a game. It's, in my mind, the best case for games as their own medium, as an art to tell a story. The gameplay was great. The fighting is somewhere between the Batman Arkham games, where you can kind of break it, but then also, you know, the Elden Rings and the Souls games, where there's a real technique to it. The story is amazing. There's tons to do in the world of it.
I just finished it this weekend for the first time. I mean, on Saturday I spread some ashes in Jotunheim. So, I mean, it's fresh. I never had a PS4, but the PS5 is my first Sony ever. All Mort has told me is, like, you gotta play God of War.
Gotta play God of War. And
so,
how do you feel about that recommendation? Was that a fair recommendation?
You're totally right. I have no regret taking my time getting to it. There's so many great games on that console.
I think if Nintendo is knocking it out of the park for first-party, family-oriented games and beyond, I think Sony is all the more just crushing it on first-party. God of War, Horizon, Uncharted, all of these amazing series that just deliver unique, top-tier gameplay experiences, and that leads us to God of War Ragnarok. What's your first impression, even though you just played the old one?
Yeah, it's funny. It feels like it was made for someone more like you who played it when it came out.
Yeah.
I was like, man, my Kratos feels so underpowered because I'm fighting the Valkyrie Queen right now.
Yeah.
In the old one.
Yeah.
But it is just gorgeous. The cinematography and the cameras, and there were moments where you revisit areas from
the first game,
and holy cow, I mean, I don't have words. It just looks so good.
Yeah, visually this is a beautiful looking game. We played it in high quality mode, not in performance mode, because we wanted to see how they were going to flex on the graphics. My first impression of this was, it was like going to the theaters to see The Two Towers after having finished Fellowship of the Ring. You know, where you finished it and then it gets to the end of that movie and you're like, what is going to happen next? And then as soon as this game boots up, there are characters, let's not spoil it, but man, their interpretation of that character is fantastic.
It's so cool. As soon as that character shows up, like, I feel like the game just hits that next level where you're like, this is why you make a sequel to the God of War 2018. This is why you withhold this character's appearance from the last game. Like, Baldur's fine. This other character, oh man.
No game, movie, TV show, anything is anything without good writing. The writing in this game is great. Like, genuinely funny, really emotional at the beginning. Lots of themes about grief and loss and the father-son dynamic. But the way that they write this particular character, we're not saying the name of, just the lines that come out of his mouth, they're like, I'm so used to how he's been interpreted before that it's such a different kind of, but yet still enough the same of that character. And we're only 2 hours in.
The voice actor, he's so good too. His line deliveries are perfect. We were joking that he sounds like 90% like Josh Brolin, and so but that's like totally a compliment. Having just played 2018's God of War, it's interesting how this one kind of almost rhymes the first one. Like, there's some similar beats. Like, it feels like it was made for someone like you who is coming to it with this memory of what the first one was like, and it's sort of replaying it in different ways, reactivating those familiar feelings, and then just boom, taking you right into it. Boy.
The thing that I loved about God of War 2018, there were set pieces in that would literally just pick your jaw up off the floor. Just a pure delight. As far as entertainment, storytelling, creativity, the world that's here, the way it's blending Norse and Greek mythology and all of these characters and worlds together, it's so perfectly done. It's so thoughtfully done. The thing that I would say is, in the first couple hours, I'm sort of jonesing for that first big set piece. You don't really get that right away. And normally games start out, Uncharted, Last of Us, they all start out with a big, huge hook at the beginning. This one just sort of picks right up where the first game left off and just keeps going. I'm dying to see what this game is going to throw at us. I like, what's the big thing that I'm going to scale, or the big monster that I'm going to end up fighting?
I can't wait to go back to the key locations from the first game and see how they've changed. Part of the plot of this game is a 3-year-long winter that's famous in Norse mythology, and so imagine the lake that you spend so much time in the first game is totally frozen, right? What happened to the world serpent? Like, I just want to know. The most rewarding version of this game, 2 hours in, is going to be one where you've played 2018.
Just like with the Two Towers. You could go see Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and you could probably have some idea of what they're doing and what's going on. There's some continuation of the broad journey from the first game right into this one. This does not feel like Kratos is just going out for revenge and pulling out the limbs and eyes of, creatures and, gore-hounding it. Although the combat does have some really wonderfully brutal elements of it in this game. I don't know what you thought of the combat.
Much like the last one, it feels appropriately brutal. Like, there are even moments where it's like over the top, but it's never like cartoonish. It never feels like unearned. I don't know. It's just kind of right. They just found that sweet spot.
In the first game, you have the axe, and the axe weapon. First of all, that axe weapon is so cool. It's so good to have it back.
It's so good.
Yeah. Kratos has the Blades of Chaos. The way that they introduced that in the first game is really dynamic and really awesome. But it's cool that if this game isn't like, oh no, Kratos lost all his power, he's starting at 0.
Boy.
Favorite genre-wise, third-person adventure games. I think that's probably that, and first-person shooters are top-tier genres for video games for me, and I just don't think anyone's making them quite like Sony is doing with these offerings.
Mort and I, we love movies, and so these two games are also just so fun as cinematically oriented people. There's just moments where I would turn to Mort and be like, dude, the lighting in that shot was so cool.
The single camera thing's really cool, but it's sort of like a tracking shot in a film. It's neat if you can do it, but how does it lend to the story? And the way that the camera is in this game, it really does lend to the story because of the way that it's following Kratos around and the way that it's not cutting to new angles, but it's just constantly moving with you. It brings a different dynamic out that's really cool. The cinematography, the world building, the characters, the writing, the voice acting, which is really well directed, the music and the score, everything comes together to do something that you can really only experience in this as a video game that you can't really experience as a film.
And with these games, there's just a different degree of craftsmanship. You can feel that, and I think that's why these ones feel special in a way that even some of the other great Sony third-person adventure games don't.
Any complaints so far about the game just after the initial couple hours?
Honestly, not really.
I don't really either.
Maybe some quibbles, but I don't even feel like quibbles are fair. I think they'll get better as we play more. And
sometimes when you first play a game, there's like, oh, that's so annoying that they did that. There's nothing like that for me. There's predictability components to it. Like, you'll be traversing a part of the environment, and then you'll walk into an open room, and you're like, okay, this is gonna be a fight sequence.
No, or like we were joking, like Atreus is a teenager now, Kratos' son, and it's like, I don't know, children are just more fun than teenagers, but that's a pretty universal experience,
Yeah, and I will be curious to see kind of how they write the development of a teenager versus the development of a child, and then the father-son dynamic of Kratos as a father raising a child and teaching him what he's got to learn in order to get through that part of the journey.
Boy.
So far, I feel like this game has handled the exposition of deep Norse mythology better than the first one, I think.
Interesting.
I feel more kept up than the last one where I was just kind of like, okay, who is that? What does that mean? I'll roll with it. But so far, I feel like I'm very much like in lockstep with what this story is trying to do.
Nice. I'm really glad I got this game. I stand by the statement that God of War 2018 is top 3 games of all time for me. If you didn't like 2018, probably not going to enjoy this one too much. Let us know your thoughts. Are you playing God of War Ragnarok? If so, what's your take on the game as well? But regardless, we hope that you are doing well and you have a great rest of your week. Take care.
Boy.